It was a quiet evening, and Niko sat on the edge of his cozy bed, staring out his window. The sky was a dark blue blanket sprinkled with stars, and the moon glowed like a sleepy lantern in the sky. Niko's room was filled with gentle shadows, and the soft ticking of the clock. He sighed a little, wondering what it would feel like to float up among the clouds and visit the stars. Just as his eyelids began to grow heavy, a soft breeze brushed his cheek, and something magical began. As the breeze slipped through the open window, it carried something with it. A whisper. "Niko," it sang, so gently that Niko wasn't even sure he heard it. He looked around his room. Everything was still. Then the whisper came again, soft and kind, like the wind itself was calling his name. He stood up and leaned closer to the window, his little heart fluttering with wonder. And that's when he saw the tiniest cloud drifting toward him, ... With a smile, floating just outside the window was a tiny, puffy cloud with the sweetest little face. Two shiny button eyes blinked, and a soft smile spread across its round, misty cheeks. "Hello," the cloud said gently. "I'm Puff." Niko blinked, in surprise. "Are you really talking?" he whispered. Puff giggled, a sound like wind chimes on a calm night. "Of course. I've come to take you on a journey through the dream skies." Niko's eyes widened with wonder. "Really?" "Really," Puff said. "But only if you're ready." Suddenly, from the distance, a soft whoosh filled the sky. Out of the clouds came something big and glowing. It was a ship made entirely of clouds, with silver sails that shimmered like starlight. It floated silently toward Niko's window, lighting up the sky with a dreamy glow. "That's Nimbus," said Puff. "She's our ship." Niko pressed his hands to the glass. The ship looked like something out of a bedtime dream. "Come on," Puff whispered. "Let's go." With a giggle and a little leap of faith, Niko stepped onto the soft cloud ship. The deck felt like walking on marshmallows, springy and warm. Puff floated beside him, pointing toward the glowing helm. "Welcome aboard, Nimbus," said a gentle voice, echoing from the ship itself. Niko looked around in awe. The sky was darker now, and the stars sparkled brighter than ever. "Where are we going?" Niko asked. Puff smiled. "Where all dreams begin." Nimbus gently lifted into the sky, silent as a whisper. Below, Niko's house became smaller and smaller, until it looked like a little dollhouse under the moon. The ship glided smoothly, cutting through clouds like a swan through water. Above them, stars danced and blinked. Beside him, Puff curled up like a kitten on a pillow. "Just relax," Puff said softly. "Let the sky carry you." And so, Niko leaned against the soft railing, letting the dream carry him higher and deeper into the night. As the ship floated on, they passed a glowing garden, hanging in the sky like a basket of stars. Giant, swaying flowers opened their glowing petals and dropped little sleepy seeds into the wind. The seeds shimmered like dandelion fluff, twirling gently toward Earth. "What are those?" Niko asked. "Dream seeds," Puff replied. "They find children who need peaceful sleep." Niko smiled as one brushed his cheek. "Then I hope everyone gets one tonight," he whispered. Flapping slowly through the sky came a flock of plump, soft birds with droopy eyes and extra fluffy feathers. "The yawn birds," said Puff, smiling. "They help the sky feel sleepy." As the birds passed by, they stretched their wings and sang the softest lullabies, just long, slow notes like bedtime yawns. Niko let out a big yawn himself and snuggled deeper into a cloud cushion. "I think they're working," he mumbled. Next, they floated into a part of the sky that shimmered with soft pastel colors. Puffy clouds stretched and twisted like cotton candy, wrapping gently around the ship. "This is the Blanket Nebula," said Puff. It wraps all sleepy travelers. In warmth, the air here smelled like lavender and cocoa. The colors swirled like a slow-moving kaleidoscope. Niko lay down on the deck, his head in a puff of cloud. "This is perfect," he whispered sleepily. Nimbus gently glided to a stop beside a tiny island floating in the sky. The island was made entirely of pillows, round ones, square ones, long ones, and star-shaped ones. Niko stepped off the ship and sank softly into the nearest pile. "This is Pillow Island," Puff said. "Every traveler rests here, just for a bit." Niko bounced, tumbled, and finally curled up with a giggle. "I could live here," he whispered. Puff smiled. "Even the clouds take naps here." In the center of Pillow Island grew a tall tree made of white wood and feathery leaves. Every so often, a glowing feather would drift down, floating like a snowflake. Niko caught one in his hands. It was warm and soft, and it hummed ever so quietly. "This tree grows dream feathers," said Puff. "If you make a wish while holding one, it will travel with you into sleep." Niko closed his eyes and made a quiet wish. The feather sparkled and vanished. Beside the feather-full tree was a still, round pool of water that shimmered like glass. Niko knelt beside it and gasped. The pool didn't just show the stars, it showed little scenes from his own dreams. One moment, he saw himself flying. The next, he saw his favorite toy, dancing in the clouds. "This pool shows your dreaming heart," said Puff gently. "Only the kindest travelers can see it." Niko smiled. "It's beautiful." A gentle rumble echoed from the sky. Turning around, Niko saw a massive snail slowly gliding across the clouds. On its glowing shell was a soft, ticking clock. "That's the snail of time," Puff whispered. "He helps bedtime last as long as it needs to." The snail blinked sleepily at Niko and gave a slow smile. "Don't rush," the snail said. "Good dreams take time." Niko nodded. "I'll remember that." Puff floated closer and pulled a glowing golden string from the air. "This," he said, "is the thread of dreams. It connects every sleeper, everywhere." Niko touched it and felt warm all over. The thread shimmered with colors. Some he didn't even have names for. "Hold on to this," Puff said. "It will keep you connected to every peaceful dreamer in the sky." Niko held it close to his heart. Just ahead on the cloud path stood a sleek, soft-furred fox with glowing eyes and a tail made of stars. "That's the dream fox," Puff whispered. "She watches over good dreams." The fox bowed to Niko and gently touched his hand with her nose. Niko felt calm, safe, and brave all at once. "Will I see you again?" he asked. The fox gave a quiet nod before vanishing into a swirl of stardust. The ship entered a long tunnel of clouds and everything became quiet. The air shimmered gently and soft whispers floated all around. "These are the voices of dreamers," said Puff. "Children all over the world, dreaming at the same time." Niko listened closely. He heard laughter, lullabies, and even his own name. He smiled and whispered back, "Sweet dreams, everyone." As they exited the tunnel, Niko saw dozens of teddy bears drifting past with tiny parachutes. Each one was smiling, with button noses and open arms. "They're on their way to tuck in children everywhere," said Puff. One bear floated close and gave Niko a hug before continuing on. "Sleep tight, little traveler," the bear whispered. Niko waved goodbye. High above, soft golden clouds began to drip little sparkles of honey down into jars hanging from ribbons. "These clouds make dream honey," Puff explained. "It brings sweet thoughts to sleepers below." Niko dipped his finger into one of the drops. It tasted like warm cookies and sunshine. "That's the best honey I've ever had," he whispered, eyes twinkling. Nimbus landed near a tiny wooden cabin perched on a cloud. Light glowed softly from the windows. Inside, an old dreamer with gentle eyes offered them cups of starberry tea. Niko sat quietly at a small table, sipping from a steaming cup while Puff snuggled into a pillow. Everything was warm and quiet. "You're almost home," the dreamer said with a smile. Before the journey continued, Niko stepped onto a floating carousel made of comet creatures. Shimmering lions, dolphins, and dragons made of stars and light. The carousel spun slowly through the air, playing soft music. Niko chose a glowing comet lion and held on as it drifted through the sky in a gentle dance. "This is the most magical night ever," he whispered as the stars twirled around him. Nimbus gently drifted into a floating marketplace made of moonlight and mist. Stalls glowed with soft golden light, run by kind moon creatures with sparkling eyes and slow, gentle voices. They sold glowing jars of giggles, featherlight dreams, and tiny cuddles packed in floating bubbles. Niko wandered from booth to booth, eyes wide with wonder. One old moon lady handed him a tiny jar that glowed with a memory of laughter. "For whenever you need a smile," she whispered kindly. At the edge of the market stood a cozy bakery floating on a cloud, where a chubby moon rabbit in a flower-dusted apron waved them inside. "Welcome, travelers," the baker said, placing trays of star-swirled pastries and cloud muffins on the counter. Niko chose a pastry shaped like a heart. With one bite, he tasted his happiest memory playing with his stuffed animals under a blanket fort. "Dream pastries," Puff said, "are made from love." Niko smiled, cheeks full and heart full too. Farther into the skies, they floated over a shimmering lake that glowed like a mirror. But instead of water, it rippled with music. Soft lullabies danced across its surface like floating notes, rising into the sky like butterflies. Niko leaned over the side of the ship, closing his eyes as the melodies surrounded him. "This lake," Puff whispered, "plays the songs our hearts need to hear." Niko sighed deeply, the tune wrapping around him like a blanket. They soon arrived at a small collection of rounded cloud caves tucked in the folds of the sky. Inside, the air was cool and humming softly, like someone humming a bedtime tune. Niko stepped into one, and the echoes of his own dreams whispered gently back to him. He heard laughter from his last birthday, the pitter-patter of rain, and the sound of his mom reading him stories. "These are dream echoes," said Puff. "They stay with you forever." A sudden shadow passed over the ship, not scary, but big and slow. Above them, a pod of massive sky whales floated by, tied gently to colorful balloons that helped them glide. Each whale had sleepy eyes and gentle smiles, their bellies glowing with stardust. Niko reached out as one drifted close, and it rumbled a low, friendly hum. "They're the oldest dreamers," Puff whispered. "They carry the first stories ever dreamed." Niko waved goodbye with both hands. They came upon a silver castle nestled in silence, floating still above the clouds. Inside, on a throne of moonbeams, sat the Queen of Quiet. She wore a flowing gown made of soft mist, and her voice was no louder than a whisper. "Welcome, little dreamer," she said, smiling. "Stillness is sacred." Niko bowed his head, and the Queen gave him a glowing pebble. "For whenever the world feels too loud," she said, "hold this and listen to the hush." On a lonely cloud stage, they met a magician with sleepy eyes and a very tall hat. He didn't speak, he only moved his hands gently, and out came magic. He pulled a ball of moonlight from his pocket, turned it into a butterfly, and let it fly into the sky. Niko clapped quietly. Then the magician offered Niko a deck of glowing cards, each one a bedtime story. "Pick one," Puff said. Niko did, and a new dream began to form in the air. As Nimbus sailed on, the sky above began to change. Instead of stars, there were swatches of glowing fabric, sewn together like a quilt. Each square held a different child's dream, one with dancing penguins, another with candy castles, and another with flying pianos. Niko looked up in awe. "Every night," said Puff, "new patches are added. Every dream matters." Niko smiled softly. "I hope mine is up there too." Floating in the sky were dozens of little glowing suitcases, bobbing gently like balloons. Each one had a child's name etched into it. "They carry dreams," Puff said. "Each one is carefully packed before bedtime." Niko watched as one opened in midair, and a burst of glowing color spun into a mini dream world. A jungle of singing flowers filled the air before folding gently back inside. "Wow," Niko whispered. "Even sleep is an adventure." The ship approached a grand rainbow bridge that stretched across the sky. Its colors glowed softly, blending into one another like a lullaby painted in the air. As Nimbus floated gently over it, a warm feeling filled Niko's chest. Every color hummed with calm. "This bridge," Puff explained, "connects the waking world to the world of dreams. Only the kindest hearts may cross it." Niko closed his eyes and let the colors wrap around him. Just past the bridge sat a large rocking chair made of silver moonlight. It rocked slowly, as if moved by the sky itself. Niko climbed into it, and it felt like the arms of someone who loved him very much. The stars twinkled above, and the chair creaked softly in rhythm. "Some dreamers never leave this chair," Puff whispered. "They find everything they need right here." Niko rocked gently, his eyes drifting closed for just a moment. Far ahead, a slow-moving giant turtle glided through the clouds. On its back grew tiny trees, glowing flowers, and even a little waterfall. "That's the slumbering sky turtle," Puff said. "She's been dreaming for 100 years. As they passed, the turtle opened one sleepy eye and smiled. Niko waved. "She's beautiful. She dreams so deeply," Puff added. "The stars borrow her thoughts." Nestled on a drifting cloud island was a giant, soft nest filled with glowing eggs. Around it slept a circle of puffy dream birds with long, cozy feathers and glowing bellies. "These birds hatch dreams," said Puff. "They keep them warm until they're ready to fly." One egg cracked, and a tiny light fluttered up into the sky. "Another new dream," Puff said softly. Niko watched it drift away, feeling peaceful just watching. The next stop was a magical floating library, built entirely from puffy white clouds. Floating books circled the shelves and opened themselves mid-air, reading stories aloud in quiet, dreamy voices. Niko sat on a pillow and listened to a book that told a story of a bear who lived in the stars. "There's a book for every dream," said Puff. "And they're always being written, even now." Niko placed his hand over his heart. "Maybe I'll write one too." A shadow passed beside the ship, but it was no ordinary shadow. A long, elegant dragon made entirely of mist and starlight flew beside them. Its wings beat slowly, and its eyes glowed with peace. The dragon bowed its head. "Would you like a ride?" It rumbled kindly. Niko climbed onto its back, and together they soared through the sky. "Don't be afraid," the dragon said. "I only carry calm." Niko nodded. He believed it. The cloud ship drifted to a glowing river winding through the sky. It shimmered with swirls of white and silver-like milk mixed with stars. Niko dipped his hand in and giggled. "It's warm," he said. Puff handed him a crystal cup. Niko scooped a drink from the river and tasted it. It was like sweet vanilla and dreams. "This is the Milky Way River," Puff explained. "It fills your heart with light." Niko took another sip, smiling. Suddenly, a tiny bubble boat floated toward them. "Let's ride," Puff cheered. Niko stepped into the little boat made entirely of glowing soap bubbles. It bobbed gently, carrying them through a field of drifting dream bubbles. Each bubble held a scene: a child flying, another hugging their pet, one sailing on a marshmallow sea. Niko reached out and touched one. It rippled but didn't pop. "So gentle," he whispered. A soft trumpet echoed through the air. A gentle giant and elephant made of cloud stuff floated by, stepping slowly through the sky. Its eyes were half closed, and its trunk moved gracefully. "She helps move sleepy thoughts," Puff said. The elephant gave Nimbus a little push with her trunk, sending them forward gently. "Thank you," Niko called. The elephant raised her trunk and let out a quiet lullaby in return. They passed a little cloud cottage with dozens of wind chimes floating in the air. They were made of feathers, crystal, and tiny bells. As the wind passed through them, they sang a soft, tinkling lullaby that made Niko's heart flutter with calm. "These are the dream chimes," said Puff. "They call the last yawns of the night." Niko stood quietly and listened until he felt one rise in his chest, a yawn of his own. Finally, just ahead, they saw a parade of elegant swans gliding through the sky, each leaving a glowing trail behind them. Their feathers sparkled gently, and their movement was slow and graceful, like a bedtime ballet. "They mark the hour of sleep," said Puff. "The sky always watches." Niko leaned on the railing and watched in silence. As the last swan passed, he whispered, "Good night." Just beyond the swan parade, Niko found a grove of tall cloud trees. Between them hung hammocks made of starlight and feathers. Each one swayed gently in the sky breeze. Niko tried one. It felt like floating on a sigh. Puff curled up beside him in another, humming a quiet tune. "Some dreamers rest here before the final journey," Puff whispered. Niko closed his eyes for a moment and felt his thoughts slow down like falling petals. Suddenly, a burst of soft light zipped across the sky, a pillow comet. They stopped at a floating station where comets made of fluff zoomed in and out, each one carrying a sleepy traveler wrapped in a blanket. A friendly bear in a star uniform offered Niko a tiny snack shaped like a moon. "Ride one someday," the bear said. "They're the quickest way to Dreamland." Niko giggled. "Maybe next time." They passed a tall, glowing bell tower floating alone in the clouds. Every hour, a gentle bell rang out, not loud or sharp, but warm and round, like a hug for your ears. As the bell chimed, the clouds around it puffed and stretched like they were yawning. Puff looked up and nodded. "The sound reminds all creatures it's time to rest." Niko put his hands behind his head and listened, feeling a yawn curl up inside him. Next came a glowing waterfall, only it wasn't made of water. It was made of floating, flowing blankets. Silky, cozy, and soft, they tumbled gently down a mountain of clouds. Niko reached out and grabbed one. It wrapped around him like magic, warming him from his nose to his toes. "Each one is stitched from a dream," Puff said. Niko hugged the blanket close and whispered, "This one smells like home." In a wide open part of the sky, millions of floating dandelion seeds drifted quietly. Each one shimmered like silver thread. Niko plucked one and made a wish he didn't say what it was, but he smiled a sleepy smile. "These are dream carriers," Puff whispered. "They float into children's rooms and plant soft sleep in their minds." Niko let his seed go, and it danced into the sky with all the others. They floated into a quiet cave filled with twinkling stars, each one snoring gently. The sound was rhythmic and peaceful, like the whole galaxy breathing in and out. "When stars get tired, they come here to rest," Puff said. Niko tiptoed through, not wanting to wake them. One star opened an eye and gave him a little wink. "Sleep tight," Niko whispered, smiling back. Out of nowhere, a giant, puffy cloud shaped like open arms drifted toward them. It wrapped gently around the cloud ship, squeezing ever so softly. Niko laughed. It's hugging us. Puff nodded. The hugging cloud visits only the kindest. Arts. When it let go, it left behind a warm, fuzzy feeling, like 1,000 cozy blankets and a goodnight kiss all at once. Soft feathers began to fall from the sky slow and glowing like snow. They weren't cold, though they were warm and light, brushing gently against Niko's cheeks and hands. He held one up. It shimmered in the twilight. These fall when it... Dreams are almost ready, Puff explained. It means sleep is close. Niko caught a few and tucked them in his pocket, just in case. In the distance stood a tall lighthouse made of crystal and cloud. Its beam of light didn't just shine, it sang. A low, humming lullaby poured from its peak, guiding dreamers safely. This is the Dream Lighthouse, Puff said. It keeps nightmares away and lights the path to rest. Niko gazed at the glowing tower and felt completely safe. He whispered, "Thank you," even though he wasn't sure who was thanking. A magical toy chest floated beside their ship, bobbing gently on a patch of stardust. It opened slowly to reveal toys from Dream's wooden animals, soft plush friends, winged-up music boxes, and glowing puzzles. Niko picked up a stuffed dragon and gave it a little hug. These toys are waiting for dreamers to find them, Puff said. Some of them have been dreaming for a long time. Niko tucked the dragon into his arm. Bright, soft comets zipped by, trailing whispers instead of fire. Each whisper was a comforting word. You're safe. You're loved. It's okay to sleep. Niko listened carefully, catching one with cupped hands. The words drifted into his heart. They're the sky's bedtime stories, Puff said softly. And you're part of them now. Hundreds of sleepy-faced balloons drifted across the sky in a slow parade. They wore pajamas, nightcaps, and even had tiny teddy bears in their stringy arms. Some snored, others hummed tunes. Niko floated through the middle of them, laughing softly. They're on their way to Dreamland too, said Puff. We're almost there. They passed a tall silver tree with wide branches covered in twinkling leaves. As they floated by, the tree yawned a long, peaceful sigh that made Niko yawn too. This tree collects yawns, Puff explained. It keeps them safe until the night is full. Niko yawned again, stretching just a little. Then it must be very full now, he murmured. Ahead, a small group of stars formed a circle and sang in harmony. Their voices were soft as whispers, warm as blankets. They didn't sing words, just beautiful sounds that made the world feel smaller and softer. They only sing when dreamers are near, Puff said. Niko listened, his heartbeat slowing. It's like my heart is singing too, he whispered. A quiet figure floated nearby, waving a long brush dipped in clouds and moonlight. Wherever the brush moved, the sky changed color: lavender, peach, navy, and gold. He paints the sky for bedtime, said Puff. He never rushes. Niko watched, mesmerized, as a trail of soft hues followed the painter's brush. It's beautiful, Niko whispered, eyes wide and glowing. A nest of giant feathers floated ahead, shaped perfectly for Niko's size. One last stop, Puff smiled. Niko climbed in. It was so soft, so perfect. It felt like it was made for his dreams. Thank you for the journey, he whispered, hugging Puff close. Puff nuzzled him back. Thank you for dreaming with me. As Niko lay in the nest, Puff glowed softly and placed a tiny crystal star in Niko's palm. Keep this close, Puff said. Whenever you need to return, just close your eyes and dream. Niko held the star tightly and nodded. I will. Puff floated upward, watching over him. Nimbus, the cloud ship, began to glow with a warm, sleepy light. Its sails folded like wings and it gently drifted away, blending into the sky. "She'll wait until you need her again," Puff whispered. "She always does." Niko waved goodbye, his heart full. Niko blinked slowly, his eyes warm and heavy. The stars twinkled above, the feathers curled around him, and the last chime of the dream bell echoed softly in the distance. Puff's voice faded into the breeze. "Rest now, little one. The sky is holding you." Niko smiled, already halfway into dreams. And as the final breath of the sky exhaled across the nest, Niko's breathing slowed, deep and gentle. The stars blinked kindly above, and the night whispered one final word into his ear. "Good night." The sky was still. The dream had begun. Don't forget to subscribe. Good night, dreamers. Have a restful sleep.